Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there is a ton of news stories to get into today. So let's talk about the world of Impact Wrestling, and let's start off talking about the Impact Wrestling X Division Champion, Josh Alexander. Now, if you're aware, if you're familiar, we've spoken about this about a million times here on the channel, but Impact Wrestling is putting a big renewed focus on the X Division in 2021 so far. It's been compared to how ECW treated the ECW Television Championship in the late 90s, with Rob Van Dam having a ECW Television Championship reign that lasted over 700 days. Reportedly, that's essentially what Impact Wrestling are looking to do when it comes to the X Division Championship and Josh Alexander. They want to elevate this championship up to a point where, not that it's maybe considered the same in terms of prestige and value as the World Championship, because the World Championship is always going to be the Impact World Championship, but they're trying to elevate that X Division Championship up by having these big matches like Ultimate X, Iron Man matches against people from New Japan, from Impact Wrestling, and possibly now from All Elite Wrestling, because Impact Wrestling's X Division Champion Josh Alexander has issued a challenge to AEW for Impact Bound for Glory 2021. Now, Josh Alexander has challenged All Elite Wrestling to send, quote, their best to face him at Bound for Glory in October. Now, the X Division champion successfully defended his championship against AAA's Black Taurus at Impact's homecoming event on Saturday. And speaking after the match, Alexander says he has now beaten the best in AAA, New Japan, and Impact, the best that these three promotions can offer. And he has now set his sights on AEW's elite performers at Bound for Glory. In an interview with Impact Wrestling, it must be said. So the fact that Alexander himself is teasing this from Impact Wrestling themselves indicates that there are possibly plans already in place for an AEW star to challenge him at Bound for Glory in October. In an interview with Impact Wrestling, here's what Josh Alexander had to say, quote, there is another title defense in the books here at Impact Homecoming. Black Taurus, you were AAA's best. If we look at my title reign, I've beaten someone from New Japan that's supposedly the best, someone from AAA that's supposedly the best. I have run through the entire Impact X Division, so maybe I need to look elsewhere. We're talking about all these different promotions coming in at Bound for Glory. Well, AEW, yeah, you know who I'm talking about. I'm saying you give me your best and we'll see which division matters most in this company. Now, after successfully defending his X Division title at Slammiversary in an Ultimate X match, Alexander has had a run-in with Impact and AEW World Champion Kenny Omega. That was on the July 22nd edition of Impact Wrestling on Access TV. The walk-in weapon was discussing his victory when Omega bumped into him and took exception with Alexander calling himself the face of the company. So, this could be the beginning of Omega versus Alexander, the build to Bound for Glory in October. I have been saying for a while, a long time at this point, that I think there are realistically two names who are going to be the names to defeat Kenny Omega for that Impact World Championship. One was Moose, and I still think it could be Moose. It looks like Moose is tied up with this whole Chris Sabin storyline and feud at the moment, which, not to say I'm not a fan of it, because I am. I think the matches have been very good. The booking I have found strange, shall we say. I think strange is the right word for that. I found it a bit odd, the booking of it, especially, I still can't really get my head around Moose losing at Slammiversary. I know he got the win back this past week on Impact Wrestling on Access TV, but still, it just feels a bit odd to me, but that is what it is. I think Moose comes out of that storyline, that feud, with 2 victories over Sabin, so you could argue he gets the win overall, but I'm not sure what is benefited by having Moose do jobs, especially after recently he's been doing jobs to the likes of Omega, Rich Swann, etc. Nevertheless, the other name that I said would be the name to defeat Kenny Omega for that Impact World Championship was Josh Alexander. Now, the reason I said that is because, for me, I spoke about this a lot, that Impact have to use Kenny Omega in the right way, in that he is going to only be in Impact Wrestling for a finite amount of time. Kenny Omega only has a certain amount of appearances in Impact, even as the Impact World Champion. Eventually, Kenny Omega's tenure as the Impact World Champion is going to come to an end. When it comes to an end, of course, you will have other AEW stars that come in and go, but that name, that person that defeats Kenny Omega for the Impact World Championship, that's a big deal. That's a big spot. Whoever defeats one of the best wrestlers in the world right now, one of the best that AEW has on their roster, whoever that may be, whoever is the person to pin Kenny Omega's shoulders to the mat for a 3 count and capture that Impact World Championship, not that they're made into a ginormous star, but in the world of Impact Wrestling, they are made. That is the person that Impact Wrestling are looking at and saying, you are going to be our guy. Not only are we giving you the World Championship, but we're saying that you are good enough to beat Kenny Omega. You are the one to bring the World Championship back to Impact Wrestling. And that is really an indication we are putting the company on your back. You're going to be the one to take us into 2022 and 2023 as our world champion. You're going to be our guy as terms of an Impact Wrestling guy. So it's really important who that person is. Now, I mentioned Moose could be a good person to do that. He's just re-signed with Impact Wrestling for a couple of years. Of course, physically, he's got all of the tools. His matches have improved significantly. His promos have improved, maybe still a way to go. But another name is Josh Alexander, and he's been unbelievably impressive as the X Division champion. So much so that it kind of feels a bit by design that they are having him competing these excellent matches. Of course, he has to put in the work himself. He has to have these great matches. But certainly the booking of Josh Alexander feels very meticulous and very calculated by Impact Wrestling. We're going to put him in these big matches, whether it is an X Division Ultimate X match, whether it is a Iron Man match, whether it's defeating people from New Japan, from AAA. We're trying to show that this guy is the best of the best, not just the X Division, but the best of the best that Impact Wrestling has. Now, I speculated previously that a way they might go to having Josh Alexander challenge Kenny Omega for the World Championship might be in terms of the option C. Now, if you're not familiar with what that is, they established it, I'm trying to think the first year they did it, 2013? 2012, 2013, it might even be before that. I think it's 2012, 2013, where the X Division champion could essentially cash in, for a better word, could cash in the X Division title, vacate it for an opportunity at the Impact World Championship. That's how we see all the likes of Austin Aries, etc., use it in the past to become the Impact World Champion. And I speculated previously that might be the direction they're going in. It might not, though. It might be a situation where Josh Alexander actually, tries to play up to Kenny Omega's ego and essentially say, look, you call yourself the belt collector. You call yourself the world champion of all of these companies, AEW, Impact Wrestling, AAA, etc. Why not try and have another championship? Why not try and hold this X Division championship? That certainly would link to the stories that they've spoken about, like we touched on at the start of this video, that Impact wants to elevate the X Division title, put it on the same platform as the Impact World Championship. Why? Because they want to make it feel like when Kenny Omega challenges for that title, that it feels like another world championship. Omega's a belt collector. He's a world championship collector. Maybe Josh Alexander can say to him, look, you won a title versus title match earlier this year in terms of Rich Swann versus Kenny Omega at Impact Rebellion. That was for the Impact World Championship and the AEW World Championship. Well, at Bound for Glory in the main event, let's make it title versus title again. Let's make it for the Impact World Championship and the Impact X Division Championship. Winner take all, Omega versus Alexander. And that could be the main event. And maybe, just maybe, that's the time that Kenny Omega does drop the Impact World Championship. Again, it depends on the timelines. Previously, my thought process was, and this is why I never thought Omega would drop the championship at Slammiversary in July to Sami Callihan. I always thought he would hold it at least until Bound for Glory because I thought he would lose the AEW World Championship by then. I thought, the past tense, I thought he would be facing Hangman Page All Out. He would lose the World Championship to Hangman Page. After he dropped the AEW World Championship, this would essentially allow him to drop the Impact World Championship because AEW wouldn't want their World Championship doing jobs to Impact guys. I don't think that's the case now because obviously plans have changed from an AEW perspective because it's no longer going to be Hangman Page versus Kenny Omega. Of course, Hangman Page lost that match against Omega and the Elite involving the Dark Order on last Wednesday night on Fight for the Fallen. Reports have come out subsequently that have said, look, Hangman Page isn't involved in the All Out main event. So I don't know, and I don't think now that Omega is going to drop the World Championship at All Out. So if Josh Alexander does defeat Kenny Omega for the Impact World Championship at Bound for Glory in October, he probably would be defeating the AEW World Champion at that time. Unless, of course, Omega defends the World Championship, say, at the Arthur Ashe Stadium show for AEW, the Grand Slam edition of Dynamite in September. Maybe, just maybe, that frees up Omega to drop the Impact World Championship in October at Bound for Glory. The timeline still kind of works with that, but we'll have to wait and see. But it's a fascinating story. Of course, it might not be Kenny Omega for the Impact World Championship. It might be a situation where Josh Alexander just wants to face someone else from AEW for that X Division Championship at Bound for Glory, whether that's Sammy Guevara, Darby Allin, whoever. There's plenty of names there, but considering they've kind of teased it on Impact Wrestling already, you would kind of lean more to Alexander versus Omega going forward. But we'll have to wait and see. But Omega versus Alexander, count me in. What a match that would be. Now, we spoke about this before here on the channel, about a possible Sami Callihan and Jon Moxley Switchblade Conspiracy reunion. Well, it's happening. Now, it's not happening inside of an Impact Wrestling ring, it must be said, but it is happening at the Wrestling Revolver event. Jon Moxley and Sami Callihan have been added to the Wrestling Revolver's Tales from the Ring event on October 30 from Clive, Iowa. Now, the event's poster teases a reunion of Moxley and Callahan's indie tag team from more than a decade ago, the Switchblade Conspiracy. They did compete as a Switchblade Conspiracy, I believe in CZW, but again on the independent scene. Now, no match has been announced yet for Moxley or Callihan. Another reunion, of course, has already been announced for that show. We spoke about it previously. The American Wolves, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards, has been announced for that show. Now, notably, Moxley and Callihan defeated Richards and Edwards on a WXW show in Philadelphia back in March of 2010. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. We could see two reunions in one match. We could see the Switchblade Conspiracy versus the American Wolves. What a match that would be, by the way. Credit to Sami Callihan's promotion, the Wrestling Revolver. It's his promotion, and imagine if he pulled that off. Switchblade Conspiracy versus the American Wolves. I think AEW and Impact Wrestling would be desperate to promote that kind of matchup. So would MLW, because of course that's where Davey Richards is signed to right now. So that's certainly very, very interesting and exciting. Now, in addition to Moxley, Callihan, and the American Wolves, also announced for the Tales of the Ring, Jessica Havoc, of course, is Sami Callihan's fiance. Warhorse, Ace Austin, Jake Crist, Everett Connors, Trey Miguel, Rich Swann, Billy Starks, and Matthew Palmer. Now, ticket sales and information, has yet to be revealed for Tales of the Ring. The event will be held at the Horizon Event Center in Clive, Iowa on Saturday, October 30. So, very exciting to see the Switchblade Conspiracy reunite after over a decade of not competing as a tag team again. Whether or not that will happen eventually in Impact or AEW, look, at this point, considering everything that's been happening over the past couple of weeks or so with Impact, AEW, WWE, every single day is just a massive news day at the moment. Previously, like last year, if Moxley and Callihan reunited as a tag team, even on the independent scene, that would be a ginormous story. But so much has happened over the course of the last year or so when it comes to companies working with each other, people using outside dates, etc. It doesn't even feel out of the realm of possibility that it could happen in AEW Impact Wrestling soon. If anything, it feels more likely than ever that we could see a Switchblade Conspiracy reunion happen in either Impact or AEW. I would lean to it happening more in AEW than maybe Impact Wrestling, purely because I don't know if I can see Moxley competing in an Impact Wrestling ring, but anything's possible. Anything's possible. Tony Khan is very, very flexible when it comes to talent working for Impact or having Impact talent come in, and he spoke about that it's difficult to work out in terms of logistics because obviously Impact tapes their content a month at a time, whereas AEW is live week to week to week to week in all of these different cities. But look, anything's possible. So maybe this will begin a bit of an itch for Sami Callihan and Jon Moxley, and maybe they'll have this reunion in Impact and in AEW going forward as well. But great to see the Switchblade Conspiracy back together. Now, of course, this past weekend was Impact Homecoming, and of course, if you're not familiar or not aware, we saw a new Impact Queen and King crowned. That would be Matthew REHWOLDT and DEONNA PURRAZZO. Of course, REHWOLDT is the former Aiden English. Aiden English, now known as Drama King, Matthew REHWOLDT made his Impact Wrestling debut as the mystery partner of Impact's Knockouts champion DEONNA PURRAZZO. The duo emerged victorious in the intergender tag team tournament to be crowned as the Homecoming King and Queen. Prior to his in-ring debut, REHWOLDT cut a promo where he said he was in Impact Wrestling to create a masterpiece. The former Aiden English and the Virtuosa picked up victories over the likes of Hernandez and Alicia, Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green, and in the final over the Decay, of course, which is Crazy Steve and Rosemary. Now, this is fascinating. I'm glad to see the former Aiden English getting a push, getting a shove in Impact Wrestling, as they would say. I think his talent's been incredibly underrated again. And I know we've kind of spoke about this a couple of times here on the channel because the spoilers have been out there for a while now. But I've been saying that I think Impact Wrestling should sign Aiden English for a really long time. Going back to when he got released by the WWE last year, I was saying Impact Wrestling need to get this guy because he really can do everything, and people like that just aren't available. They're just not, especially to smaller promotions like Impact Wrestling. He can do everything. He can be a wrestler, and a damn good one at that. He can be a manager. He can be a mouthpiece. He can be a commentator. He can play an arrogant heel, a underneath babyface, a comedy, serious. He really can do it all, and there aren't many multi-tool players like that out there in pro wrestling right now. I'm interested to see the combination between DEONNA Purrazzo and REHWOLDT going forward. I don't know if we're going to continually see them as a pairing. Obviously, I do know, and the spoilers are out there, but I do know that on Impact going forward, they're probably going to have a couple of matches and a couple of promos, all that kind of stuff. Whether or not they continue with that really going forward, if this is going to be a permanent thing, if we're going to see him accompany DEONNA Purrazzo to the likes of the NWA Empower pay-per-view in August, I don't know if that is going to be the case going forward, but I thought the tournament was fun. I know it wasn't for everyone, it must be said. I know it wasn't for everyone. I know some people aren't a fan of having a tournament that's an intergender tag team tournament. I get that. But it must be said that, I think a lot of people enjoyed the mixed match challenge that WWE did a couple of years ago. And I think I already see it quite often on social media. People said they want to see that tournament return. So I thought Impact Wrestling did a good job for the pay-per-view. Look, it's an Impact Plus event. I think it was just, for content and having the fans there. And it's probably going to be the beginning of a new storyline, a new gimmick for Purrazzo and REHWOLDT going forward. So it's interesting to see what Impact has plans for it. Again, we don't know totally what they have planned because there's only a select amount of information out there in terms of the spoilers that they film for after Homecoming. We know that the next set of TV tapings is coming in about a week or so, just over 10 days, something like that. So we'll have more information about that after then. But I thought they did a good job with the tournament. I enjoyed it. And DEONNA Purrazzo, her achievements in Impact Wrestling just continue to increase. Knockouts champion, in demand to appear in AAA, in AEW, in the NWA, and just what a success story. After she was released by WWE, just gone on to become one of the best, not just female wrestlers, but wrestlers in the world today. I mean, she's so in demand. It's incredible to see. So I enjoyed Homecoming immensely. There's a Battle Royal that's been announced. We've touched on this previously, but I wanted to officially talk about it here on the channel. And that is that Battle Royal has been announced by Tommy Dreamer, which is going to be a #1 Contenders Battle Royal in 2 weeks, which is going to determine the next challenger for Kenny Omega's Impact World Championship at the Impact Emergence TV special. Now, of course, we do know who the winner of this is going to be. Again, spoilers out there. I think we did a video talking about it anyway, but it has been officially announced on screen. Needless to say, I was stunned. I mean, I really was stunned when the winner came out, when the person who did win this match came out. No disrespect to the guy, but I felt that there were better options and there were better matches to have for Kenny Omega. Certainly not this guy, especially considering, he was involved in that Homecoming tournament and went out very quickly, and he's been involved in essentially comedy stuff recently. I just find that very, very bizarre, and it's a heel versus heel match. I don't know. I'm still a little bit baffled by all of that, it must be said, but the announcement has officially made, so we have a #1 Contenders Battle Royal for a couple of weeks' time, and then obviously the World Championship match at Impact Emergence, which of course Kenny Omega is winning. If the person who won that Battle Royal wins the Impact World Championship, I will be flabbergasted, absolutely flabbergasted if that's the case. Could you imagine if that happened? Oh, it would be crazy. Finally, I want to talk about Bray Wyatt and Impact Wrestling. Obviously, the wrestling world is still just reeling from WWE releasing Bray Wyatt last week. I'm still shocked about it. We spoke about it in the WWE news video earlier today. It's still crazy, and it still baffles me. Even budget cuts, I don't know. It's just absolutely crazy. Now, obviously, a lot of people have been reacting to his release and saying where he could go next. There's people talking about AEW, Impact Wrestling, New Japan, etc. Now, among the many wrestling personalities who showed their love for the former Universal Champion was Impact Wrestling star and, I guess, now member of the Bullet Club, Chris Bay. Chris Bay, who recently aligned with Jay White and the Bullet Club, alluded to Bray Wyatt being a creative genius and believes that, he stated that he believes Wyatt will be a hit wherever he goes. He said, "Whole time, Bray Wyatt set movies or wrestling ablaze if he wants to. He's so smart and creative and just a good dude." So Chris Bay was very much in support of Bray Wyatt. Now, I know Some people have been saying that maybe he could go to Impact Wrestling, or maybe he would be a better fit for Impact Wrestling. He wouldn't be a good fit in the reality base of AEW. I saw a couple of wrestling journalists tweet that. Look, it's their opinion, and I'm pro Impact Wrestling on this channel. We do daily Impact Wrestling videos here. I would be very, very surprised if Bray Wyatt showed up in Impact Wrestling. Not that Impact can't afford him. Again, it's a massive misconception about Impact Wrestling that they can't afford certain talents. They're very well backed. Anthem have a lot of money, and if they want to, they can spend it. They nearly got deals done over the line for Omega and Chris Jericho prior to AEW even being a thing, because they're that well backed. The situation is that Bray Wyatt's going to be a hot commodity, and I know I put it out on Twitter today saying that I think he'll go to AEW, and I know a lot of people are defensive about that. Oh, it's another ex-WWE guy and all that kind of stuff. Bray Wyatt is a very, very top-tier, unique talent that is still incredibly young, incredibly creative, has a lot of name recognition. AEW would be insane, not even to discuss possibly a deal for him coming in. In addition to that, he's very well-liked and very well-respected. I think AEW will make a strong play for him. They will offer him a lot of money. Maybe he comes into Impact Wrestling in a one-off sort of thing. I would be very surprised. I only see one destination for him, and that is in AEW. But anything's possible, I suppose. Anything's possible, and who knows what could happen. But I personally see Wyatt ending up in AEW, it must be said. But look, guys, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on all of these Impact Wrestling news videos we've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, talking about Impact Wrestling, AEW, WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community. Drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube, get the rankings, and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right-hand corner of the screen right now. Or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or having come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.